honorable chief guest of this national seminar on judicial independence and efficiency, His Excellency Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus, the Honorable Chief Advisor, the Honorable Law Advisor, Honorable Mr. Justice Muhammad Ashfaqul Islam, the senior-most judge of the Appellate Division of the Supreme Court, and indeed Chair of the Supreme Court Special Committee on Judicial Reform, the learned Attorney General for Bangladesh, honorable judges of both divisions of the Supreme Court of Bangladesh, Your Excellencies, ambassadors, high commissioners, and other foreign dignitaries, the resident representative of the UNDP, Mr. Stephen Lilla, the Vice Chairman of the Bangladesh Bar Council, Senior Advocate Mr. Zainul Abidin, the President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, Senior Advocate Barrister A.M. Mahmoudin Khokon, learned district judges and chief judicial magistrates representing 64 districts, learned metropolitan sessions judges and chief metropolitan magistrates, members of the Supreme Court Bar Association, members of the Supreme Court Registry, members of the Fourth Estate, i.e. the print and electronic media. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. In the blazing months of July and August 2024, a student-led revolution born of anguish, not ambition, swept across Bangladesh, demanding justice and integrity. That historic revolution dismantled a compromised judiciary and called forth a new order grounded in truth and independence. I did not assume the office of the 25th Chief Justice by design, but was summoned by the people's will, entrusted with the solemn duty to restore faith in the rule of law and to rebuild the judiciary as a pillar of constitutional democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, the revolution did not end with slogans. It demanded a moral reckoning and the very reconstruction of our statehood. As the old order gave way, the nation turned not to power, but to principle. In that defining moment, Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus, our Nobel laureate, was invited by the people to guide a fractured nation toward renewal. His assumption of office as chief advisor marked a turning point. With moral clarity and solid purpose, he charted a path of transformation, initially through 6 foundational reform commissions, placing judicial reform at the forefront. Excellency Chief Advisor and distinguished guests. On 21st of September 2024, I stood before my constituents, the judiciary, in the inner garden of the Supreme Court to unveil the judicial reform roadmap, a declaration not of intent, but of institutional transformation grounded in independence, accountability, and service. Central to this roadmap, to this day, is the creation of a Supreme Court Secretariat. Not only to ensure administrative and financial autonomy, but significantly to adopt in the months and years ahead a holistic approach to institutional policy making. Institutional safeguards such as depoliticized guidelines on postings and a proposal for separate civil and criminal trial courts to enhance adjudicatory clarity, along with enhanced allowances, car loans, and security measures for judges were in tandem introduced, not as privileges, but as protections of judicial integrity. Complementing these structural reforms, I issued 12 directives targeting procedural efficiency and targeting to corruption, including setting up of helplines, a nationwide digital complaint mechanism, and opening all possible avenues within my means to ensure public redress. This endeavor, I am happy to report to you, has caught the imagination of a nation newly born. These initiatives are restoring public trust by dismantling a culture of silence and replacing it with one of service. Distinguished guests, a judiciary cannot claim true independence unless the appointment and accountability of its highest members are structurally shielded from political influence. With the Supreme Judicial Council now restored as the guardian of judicial discipline following the disposal of by my court of the review of the 16th Amendment case, we have also, in addition, taken a forward-looking step by establishing the Supreme Judicial Appointment Council, a collegium ensuring that apex court appointments are guided by merit, transparency, and integrity. This particular proposal regarding the appointment of judges of the Supreme Court, also endorsed, notably, by the Judicial Reform Commission and swiftly operationalized through an ordinance in January 2025 and approved by the interim government under the leadership of the Honorable Chief Advisor, Professor Dr. Mohammed Yunus, has already borne fruit. The two most recent judges elevated to the appellate division were appointed under this process, setting a new standard of legitimacy. A fresh round of appointments is now under consideration even as we speak, reinforcing that judicial elevation shall henceforth be grounded and as enshrined in the Latimer House principles, in public trust and institutional dignity through a publicly declared process. I'm deeply grateful to the Honorable Law Advisor for his instrumental role in this regard, and I firmly believe that the Supreme Judicial Council and the Supreme Judicial Appointment Council now stand as twin pillars of judicial independence, ensuring accountability on one hand and the principled selection of judges on the other. These are incremental steps taken as of October and are considered by my court and by myself as indicative of significant progress made towards that one ultimate objective of setting up an independent secretariat for the Supreme Court. Honorable Chief Advisor, at the heart of our judiciary's strength is the firm dedication of over 2,000 judges and magistrates across Bangladesh, including over 1,200 young judges aged between 24 and 35. An extraordinary reservoir of talent and idealism. And what better target for intervention by your government, Honorable Chief Advisor, for human capital development. Among these 2,000 plus judges, 625 are women, constituting more than 31% of the judicial service, all recruited solely on merit. Through the longest avenue since 2007 of the Bangladesh Judicial Service Commission, represented tonight by the chair, Mr. Justice Zubair Rahman Chaudhary. Their presence, the young, the driven, in the subordinate judiciary, Honorable Chief Advisor, is not symbolic, but transformative, bringing empathy, inclusivity, and intellectual rigor to our courts, and reshaping the culture of justice delivery. Despite logistical constraints and limited infrastructure, these judges, especially in 36 districts, where case disposal has surpassed, I have witnessed firsthand in all my travels the last several months, the length and breadth of this beautiful country. Case disposal in these 36 districts, Honorable Chief Advisor, has surpassed new filing in the past 10 months. And they demonstrate one simple thing, that reform is not and cannot be a distant promise, but is very much a present reality. With over 4.2 million pending cases nationwide, the innovation of these judges, their commitment, their resilience, working into evenings and weekends, stand as compelling proof that the judiciary is not just adapting, it is leading a generational shift driven by merit and purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, no reform of this scale that we have so ambitiously embarked upon can thrive in isolation. It has been sustained by a powerful alignment of national and international partnerships. The UNDP has stood at the forefront in this endeavor. turning vision into reality through wholehearted support, including, if I may add, a transformative study visit to South Africa barely a few weeks ago, co-organized the Commonwealth Secretariat, where we drew inspiration from their model of reconciliation and transitional justice. That journey, needless to say, has deepened our understanding of restorative justice. Dear guests, as Mr. Stephen Lilla has already announced, just a couple of hours ago, a memorandum of understanding was signed between Sweden and the UNDP to launch a 24/7 judicial helpline on essential and as an essential step towards citizen access and institutional responsiveness. Our other partner, the European Union, working these many months closely with the UNDP for advancing our digital legal aid services, has also come on board for creating a justice system that is both accessible and technology-driven. To take the spirit across the nation, I have led reform roadshows in all 8 divisions, where judges, magistrates, members of bar associations, and general citizens have actively engaged with the reform agenda. Bangladesh, our other development partners, including Sweden and the United Kingdom. These efforts are shaping a judiciary that reaches out, not waits, and that serves not in abstraction, but in close communion with the people. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, allow me to place on record my profound gratitude to all who have sustained and enriched our collective journey thus far. My special gratitude to the Honorable Chief Advisor, Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus, whose visionary leadership has given impetus to this reform endeavor. I'm grateful to the Honorable Law Advisor for his understanding and close study of our institutional redesign, and to the Honorable Attorney General of Bangladesh, whose steady counsel continues to fortify the dialogue between the bar and the bench. My note of appreciation in particular goes to the Honorable Judges of the Appellate Division and the High Court Division of the Supreme Court of Bangladesh, whose wisdom and fortitude inspire the judiciary to uphold its highest ideals in times most fluid, most unique, and uniquely transformative. It is not easy, but we persevere against all odds. I also place on record my sincere thanks to the Supreme Court's Special Committee on Judicial Reform for its sustained contributions at critical junctures of this transformative journey. I extend my appreciation as well to the Supreme Court Bar Association and the Bangladesh Bar Council, whose constructive engagements remain vital to the cause of institutional balance. And I especially acknowledge the leadership of the Bangladesh Judicial Service Association for lending crucial support to the CJB's reform roadmap the past several months. I thank the United Nations Development Programme, our trusted institutional partner and co-host of this national seminar, for their support, and I warmly welcome and thank all members of the diplomatic corps and our development partners, whose presence today reaffirms the international community's faith in Bangladesh's not only judicial renewal, but national renewal. Your Excellency, Honorable Chief Advisor, the judiciary over the past nearly 11 months has risen as the proverbial phoenix, confident in its standing and stature as the fully functioning constitutional organ of the state, unyielding in its duty, grounded in its independence, and unwavering in its commitment to justice. As the guardian of the constitutionality, legality, and human rights compliance of all other sectoral reform efforts, Honorable Chief Advisor, the judiciary must be the first to liberate itself from the shackles of past constitutional misadventures and reinforce its status as the constitutionally mandated arbiter of remedies for all seeking justice before our courts. To that end, I reiterate with utmost urgency the need for establishing a separate secretariat for the judiciary. Which is essential not only for administrative autonomy, but for securing the structural foundation upon which all other sectoral reforms must rest. Justice cannot be carried forward on borrowed infrastructure or delegated authority. It must stand on its own institutional legs. Together, let us ensure that the judiciary is not merely preserved, but empowered, renewed, and firmly established, if only as a commitment to future generations and for a fiduciary duty undertaken by ourselves under the principle of intergenerational trust. Thank you all.